Wagwan world, escape your workday and live 9 to 5 with us. Right now we are walking to the beach. Right over here actually is where Jen, see, she's not, Jennifer Ann. See, she leaves me because we saw a snake here before. I want to tell you a story that we usually tell.
Wait for me.
Oh, so now you want to come hang out?
Yeah,
right?
it's just I don't like the snakes over there. They're scary.
Anyways, I want to tell you a story that we read out of the book. Really important book that kind of shifted the way that we look at life. It was actually called The 4-Hour Work Week. And we read this book.
We didn't read this one.
We listened to the book.
It's an audiobook.
It's an audiobook. We listened to it like 2 years ago, I guess, yeah?
Yeah.
2 years ago. It's when we actually went to Florida. Anyways, we listened to the 4-Hour Work Week. And the description is going to be below. Probably going to be affiliate links, just letting you know. Anyways, the book is by a guy named Tim Ferriss. And he is a guy who was like really successful at a young age. Financially successful at that. Okay, so he started a business and he had everything that he thought he'd have by his late 20s, early 30s. Except when he had all this money, he recognized that he didn't have all this time. Like he was constantly working. And yes, he had the money to go travel and do all these things that he wanted to do, but he didn't have the time to do it. And then so he started to really rethink is the way that he's living life, you know, making the money, grinding, hustling at work, doing the 40-hour work week, like, is this really necessary? Like, he kind of questions, like, who made up the rules that working hours are 9 to 5, or that being a citizen of this Western world, you have to work 40 hours. He was kind of talking about, sorry, there's bugs. He was talking about how he really went down to the bottom line of what his values were, or what was important to him, what did he really want to do. Now, this is a secular book, so there's not a lot of faith-based stuff here, but we're Christians, and so we honestly believe that God has a purpose for all of us, that He put us in this world for something greater than ourselves, to build His kingdom. And so we believe in arranging and organizing our time so that we're not so caught up in work. Hence why this blog's called Live 9 to 5, not work 9 to 5. And part of us living and being excited and being passionate about is actually doing these vlogs so we can connect with you and give you the same message that God has a plan for us. And we can't waste all these years working for someone else or working for something else other than the kingdom.
Especially if you don't have passion in what you're doing.
Yeah, and so like let's really look at our finances here, or our expenses here, and let's look at what. Oh, I'm sorry, getting bites.
You're getting bit?
I'm itchy. Let's really look at our expenses and what is the bottom line here for us to fuel what we need to do. Anyways, there's a story in the book, 4-Hour Work Week. It talks about a Mexican fisherman. I don't know if it's just a story, or I don't know if it's a true story, or if it's just an analogy. But the story is a successful American businessman goes on vacation in Mexico. Sitting on the beach, he's just chilling, relaxing, all cool, shooting some b-ball outside the... No, that's the Fresh Prince. Anyways, American guy goes to Mexico, and he's sitting on the resort, and he's watching a local fisherman go out to the waters early morning, 8, 9 o'clock. And by midday, the fisherman finishes off his work and he goes home. And the American guy couldn't quite figure that out. He was like, what? He only fished for a couple hours and he's going home. And so he went to go catch the fisherman before he left, and he asked, hey, padre. Not padre, amigo. Wrong word. Amigo. He's like, what do you do after you fish for just a few days? Like, the workday's not over yet. The Mexicano fisherman says, well, I've caught enough fish to feed my family. I've caught enough fish to share with my friends. He's like, now I'm gonna go home and spend time with my wife, spend time with my kids, and at the end of the day, we're gonna go to the beach and I'm gonna play the guitar with my amigos. American guy was like, sounds pretty awesome. Okay. But this is where the American guy is like, let me show you a little something. If you fish for the whole day instead of half the day, then you could take the fish, go to the market, and start selling it. And when you start selling the fish, you could raise enough money so you could buy some boats. And so you could have a fleet of boats and hire all these fishermen. And once all these fishermen are there, you could start packaging your fish, eventually putting them in cans, and you could distribute it all over the world so that one day you could be in New York City sitting in your office as CEO of your company. Mexican guy goes, that sounds great. And so what would I do? Like, how long would that take? He goes, oh, I don't know, 20, 25 years. And the Mexican guy says, well, what would I do with my company? And he said, well, you would sell it and you would cash out and you would have millions of dollars. And then the Mexican guy said, well, then what would I do with my millions of dollars? The American guy says, well, you could go back home to Mexico, you could spend time with your wife, spend time with your kids. I mean, they're 20 years older now. Maybe spend time with your grandkids. And at the end of the day, you could play the guitar with your amigos at the beach. And just as we say that, here's the beach right in front of us. Anyways, the point of the story was the quality of life that this Mexicano amigo wanted. The values that he instilled, he didn't need all this money to do it. And sometimes we think that money is the answer to achieve these things that are important, that are of value. And in this case, the Mexicano wasn't necessarily living a purpose, or at least in the story, it wasn't like a big purpose that's greater than himself, but he knew the value of family. He knew the value of community from the beginning. And so that he didn't spend the rest of the 25 years building a career in order to do this. And so when we heard the story in Florida, Jen and I were actually like, how did we do that?
We moved here.
We moved here. But we realized that the beach for us here in Ontario was in Wasaga Beach, where we could actually like scream! And there's no one around us. Just silence, this combed beach where I could walk with my feet in the sand, where you could actually see blue mountains out on the edge there. We could hear the rushing waters and put our feet in here. You don't need a lot of money to do this. Live 9 to 5.